About 2 billion people around the world do not have access to clean and safe drinking water, and nearly 60 million here in the United States are being exposed to unsafe tap water each year. But the EPA is focusing its efforts on targeting a company that is looking to help these people obtain safe drinking water. The company, named Berkey Water Filters, is extremely popular throughout the United States. Many households, including my own, use them as their lifeline to provide their families with safe and clean drinking water. But the EPA is blocking that. The agency may be overreaching by demanding Berkey water filters to be treated as a pesticide rather than water filters. The EPA suddenly launched its attack on the filter company after the company's been providing its clean water alternative for over a quarter of a century. And because of the EPA's decision to treat these filters as pesticides, the company is unable to sell its products. Now, if you go to their website, you'll notice everything is unavailable. The new interpretation of its regulations could also result in the layoffs of over 500 employees. The Berkey Water Filters is fighting back. They filed a lawsuit against the EPA. The lawsuit calls out the agency because it has never sought to force registration of mechanical type water filters as pesticides until late last year. Now we reached out to the EPA to get their side in all this, and of course the agency decided to hide behind the pending lawsuit by saying, quote, "As this is pending litigation, EPA has nothing to add." Now please welcome in the owner of Berkey Water Filters, Jim Shepard. Jim joins us by phone, and his lawyer, Walter Norad of Norad Law. Thank you both for being here. Jim, I was really sad to learn about what the EPA is putting you through. I was telling you before we started the segment, my Berkey water filter sits right beside our sink. It's a staple in our household, and it provides my family with clean drinking water. I love it. It's one of those must-have items for us, and we'll take it if there's, now we know we have to take it if there's a fire in the house, right? You have to run out with the Berkey because it's hard to replace it. So tell us, your filters are so good that even the media has been promoting your products. One outlet says your filters are one of the few that can filter out cesium-137, which is one of the most dangerous contaminants following a nuclear event. So what's going on here, Jim? Why is the EPA suddenly coming after you and saying you have to, it should be considered part of pesticides instead of water filters?
Well, it's nice to talk with you, Emerald, and it's kind of an interesting story. I was talking with my EPA consultant last year in May, and he told me that the EPA was, because of COVID-19, they were considering reinterpreting their regulations and making water filters that are capable of removing virus pesticides. And so I asked him, I said, well, what kind of guidance are they giving us about it? Because we don't know what, what we need to do in a situation like this. And he goes, well, they're being very tight-lipped and they're giving absolutely no guidance. And then about the same time, we got confirmation from the EPA that we were an exempt device. And so we really didn't think too much about it. And then all of a sudden in December, the EPA started issuing stop sale orders to our dealers. And then they went to our manufacturers and vendors and started shutting them down. And so we're kind of in this crazy reinterpretation phase of the EPA, where somehow, and this logic is so bent I don't quite understand it, but because of the threat of COVID-19 being in the water, they want to make water filters that remove virus unavailable to the American people, and that's kind of where we stand.
Warren, this seems like a stretch to me, the explanation for categorizing these filters as pesticides. To me, what do you make of the government's argument, Warren?
The government has latched on to the presence of silver, which is part of the product that's used to protect the filters and not used as a pesticide. And they said, since silver is sometimes used as a pesticide, and since silver is mentioned as protecting the filter, we're going to add these things together and we're going to say, poof, you're a pesticide. Now, the funny part about this, of course, is that the FIFRA, which is a Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, FIFRA, since 1947. It defines pesticide as requiring a substance that's used to kill pests. And we all know what a pesticide is, right? A pesticide is, there's just lots of pesticides that we can all name, and I didn't want to name one, but they all require chemicals that are used to kill pests, and we don't use that. And so since the very beginning of time, 1947, FIFRA, the actual law, and your previous guest talked about this a little bit too, the law has said that you have to have a substance. The EPA then puts together a bunch of rules to enforce the law, but they're not laws. So you have to go through a process to make these rules. And they've said if you make pesticidal claims, then you are a pesticide. But then they realized, no, well, that's going to catch all of these filters. So then they made an exception. And so until last year, that exception was held. And so you have a lot of filters out there, some better than others. Of course, our Berkey's is the best. But there are many filters out there. None of them are registered as pesticides, and they're all available. And they all use something to protect them, or they don't last very long. And so I think that the EPA said, we like control over all of the things. We've got a hook. We've got this foreign website out there. Even though it says that the silver is present to protect the filters, we're going to latch onto that, and we're going to call this a pesticide. But they've never had the notice and rulemaking procedure that they're supposed to do. And that's the real problem, is that we're not, Berkey filter elements are not pesticides, simply not pesticides underneath the law. And if they're going to change their rules, they're supposed to go through a process, and they haven't done that. But they're saying that they don't need to because of the silver. And so that's what the fight's about, is can you shut down an entire the number one market leader because you grab onto something that's unsupportable and then use that to hang your enforcement hook on that. That's where we are.
Jim, have you ever had the government come after you in such a way before? And then secondly, you employ a lot of people. You have a strong company history. How long can you survive this fight with the government?
Well, great question. Well, with respect to how long can we, fight the government, we're gonna go the whole way. Our position is that, look, under the federal guidelines, if you're going to change or reinterpret, your rules, and apply them just to Berkey, there's no other outdoor camping or water filters that are involved in this. They just went after the leader, and so if you're going to reinterpret your rules, you really have to go through this process where you get the public input on it, and then it's debated back and forth. And then when they make the rules, then they give manufacturers, between 6 and 18 months, to come into compliance with their new regulations so that they're not shut down. And of course, none of that has happened. And so now, we're asking the court to put an injunction on the stop sale order so that we can continue, manufacturing our Berkey filters while we fight this in court. And Emerald, as you know, when you're in a court case, like a federal court case, it can drag on for years. And so, if without that injunction, then the answer to your question is it's going to be a difficult battle, but we do want to fight it. And then you asked one other question, and can you refresh my memory on that one? I just asked, have you ever had an instance, an interaction like this with the government before in all your years doing this? Okay, yeah. No, as a matter of fact, we've worked with government agencies all over the world. Our Berkey is able to, filter outdoor raw and treated water. And so it's really a favorite when there's a crisis around the world. And so we've worked with governments around the world, providing Berkeys in times of crisis. And so I'm really shocked that the drums are being beat in the EPA, to shut us down. I mean, we have a 25-year track record. We've had We've never harmed anybody. We've gotten a lot of reports from people that were in life and death situations, and their Berkey saved their life. And so I've always been very proud of our product. I like you, use a Berkey every day. I've got one in my kitchen, and it's been in there for 25 years. And I love it too. It's just simple. It's just very easy to use, and I don't have to worry about changing under the sink filters every 6 months and all that kind of stuff. It's just a simple product that works. And so in answer to your question, nope, never had any conflicts with the government until this EPA issue came up.
Well, we'll be watching this case specifically to see what the judge does and if they'll offer you that injunctive relief. We hope they do, because your product's great, and it helps a lot of people, and this just is extremely unfortunate. Now, we do know people who have had the government come after like this and won, so we'll be, watching and praying and hoping the best for you and your company. And we thank you both, Jim and Warren, for joining us to share the story, because it's important for the American people to know what their government's doing.
Well, thank you, Admiral. It's been a pleasure being on your show, and thank you so much for taking interest in this issue. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. We'll see you soon when we have more news to share with our audience. Thank you both.